All right, good morning, Chair Postman, members Garrett, Vollendroff, staff and guests. The lobbies are open and the recording has begun.
Thank you, Dustin. We'll convene the Liquor and Cannabis Board meeting for September 13th, 2023. Good morning, everybody. As Dustin mentioned, a couple of notes. Dustin mentioned we record the meeting. It'll be available online a little bit later today. For those of you here in the boardroom today and for the members, knowledge, we've got about 30 people in the room today. So just make sure you silence your cell phones, please. Take any side conversations out to the lobby. The microphones are in the ceiling here and they're really sensitive. They pick up crinkling paper and side conversations. So just for the people online, let's do that. Just run through what we're going to do here today. We got a few, at least one small bit of business that we're going to take care of, and then we'll receive a social equity program update from two managers from our licensing division. There won't be a chance during their presentation to ask them questions, but they have said they will be hanging out in the room after the meeting is over and will be available to talk to people more informally. Then we're going to go through some other business, including a public hearing, which is related to some alcohol rulemaking that we have to do. So there's a public hearing, but it's only for that alcohol rulemaking. And then to close the meeting, we have the opportunity for anybody to speak for 4 minutes to the board if you've signed up. So for those in the room, you just need to sign up in the back sort of now. And then Gretchen will give me that list and we'll call you. So that'll be the last item on the agenda today, where again, you get 4 minutes to talk about anything that you would like within reason, which we'll get into when we get there. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first item of business is to approval of the meeting minutes from the August 31st board caucus. Is there a motion to approve that?
I move that we approve the minutes from the
You're
August
muted.
30th. Oops. How about now?
Oh, still muted.
That's weird.
I'm going to try without. Can you hear me now?
Can't hear either of you.
That's weird.
Chair Postman, this is Daniel Jacobs. I could hear him before. There
The
might
screen
be an
shows
audio
you
issue
both
in the
still
room.
muted at your ends, but I don't. Can you hear us? Yeah, I guess you can hear us. Okay, right? Does it show that you're muted
Shows that I'm unmuted.
on Teams?
No, I don't think it's my headset.
They can hear each other online. Jim, why don't you try unplugging unplug your headset for a second and see if you can just do it through the computer, though we can't hear Ollie either, but let's just try it.
I can hear you. Can you hear
No.
me?
So they can hear each other apparently online.
I don't think I can hear Ollie, but
Oh, there we can hear you, Jim.
okay.
Okay. And Ollie, are you able to unmute for a second? Let's just test here. You can't unmute? Sounds like,
2 words.
yeah, Ollie's going to write us a note. No, Ollie can't unmute. So whatever we just did to Jim. No. Okay. But you know, we can keep moving while you try to fix that, because I can second the motion.
Since she sent me a sheet, wants to get like a thumbs up.
Yeah. So did you
Okay,
hear?
so Jim,
So I move that we approve the caucus meeting minutes for August 31st.
and is there a second? And a thumbs up from member Garrett is the second, and then that is approved. Thank you. And we'll keep working on that because I know that member Garrett will want to participate in this. Our next item is our social equity program update. And turn it over to Aaron Washington, who's our Social Equity and Cannabis Program Manager, and Linda Thompson, who's the Cannabis Manager. You both coming or just you? Okay.
Slide up there.
All right. Okay, great. It's all yours.
Good morning, Chair Postman, members Garrett and Volendroff. I'm Aaron Washington, the Social Equity Program Manager. I'm here today with Linda Thompson, our Cannabis Licensing Manager. We are here today to provide an update about where we are in the social equity application process. As a background reference, the Liquor and Cannabis Board used a third-party contractor as recommended by the Social Equity Task Force to review and prioritize all social equity applications. The use of a third-party contractor was to avoid any appearance that agency employees influenced the process. Ponder Diversity Group was chosen as the third-party contractor to review and score the applications to determine which applicants meet the criteria for the social equity program. Their review of all the applications has been completed. Currently, these applications are being uploaded into our system. It is important to note that the LCB is not evaluating the applications. Ponder Diversity Group validated applicants' qualifications and scored all the applications. The Liquor and Cannabis Board anticipates applicants will begin receiving notification about their status within the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to walk you through the category of notifications that applicants may receive based on Ponder Diversity Group's review. Due to the limited number of licenses available, which is 46 allotments in 22 counties, an application may result in one of the following categories. One being the highest scoring applications. These are for applicants who received the highest scores in the county they chose and were determined to be qualified for the social equity program. Two, title certificate holder. These title certificate holders have the ability to reinstate their license by applying through the social equity program. Those who met the requirements for the social equity program can move their title certificate within the county it is located. Three, a tie in the county. This is a category for applicants that may qualify for the program, but received the same highest scores in the same county. The applicant's information will be sent to a third-party contractor who will conduct a double-blind lottery. The double-blind lottery process is as follows. A third-party firm, Creighton Snell, will use randomizing software to select the applicants who will move forward with the licensing process. Four, applications that were disqualified. Reasons for an application to be withdrawn may be due to the following. The applicant did not meet requirements. An applicant did not score high enough to proceed. An incomplete application, or the applicant was not selected by results of the lottery. The applicant will be provided a letter with the reason for the withdrawal and will have a right to an appeal if they do not agree with the decision. If the applicant would like to appeal the decision, instructions to do so are included in the withdrawal letter. If an applicant would like to request their score and/or their application information related to the Ponder Diversity Group's review, instructions will be provided on the letter about how to submit a records request. And our fifth category, the preliminary letter of approval. Once the 46 applicants have been identified, the Liquor and Cannabis Board will issue all preliminary letters of approval at the same time. So as a note, we will have nearly 500 applicants to notify about their status over the next 2 weeks, which will occur via email. We recognize that applicants are anxious to know the results. However, we are requesting that applicants wait until they receive their notification letter from the Liquor and Cannabis Board before attempting to contact us. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Linda Thompson, who will be giving talking points about the cannabis licensing process. Great, thanks.
Thank you, Aaron.
Morning, Ms. Thompson.
Good morning, Chair Postman, members Garrett and Vollendraw. I'm Linda Thompson, the Cannabis Manager for the Licensing Division, and I will share information on the next steps for licensing. The successful applicants and qualified title certificate holders will need to meet standard licensing requirements to receive a license, including but not limited to securing a location, financing, completing an operating plan, and criminal history forms. We understand applicants will need time to find a location and secure financing. There is no time restriction for an applicant to find either of these. We will be inviting the successful applicants to a live virtual webinar to introduce the team, provide a brief overview of the next steps in the application process, share how the licensing team can support you, and conduct a survey of readiness. The survey will determine each applicant's readiness to begin the licensing application process, which will include questions such as if they have a location, have secured financing, have both, or have neither. Applicants will also be assigned to our social equity case manager for help and/or support. The case manager will check in with applicants twice a month to see if they have any questions or if support is needed. Some examples of this are technical support. If they are unsure of how to fill something out or need help navigating through a system. Help with finding resources, for example, connecting them with Department of Commerce and finding contact information for their local authority. Applicants will also be assigned to a senior licensing specialist who will assist with any licensing related questions and can confirm proposed location compliance. Now I will turn this back over to Aaron Washington.
Thank you, Linda. So this next slide is of great importance. Ponder Diversity Group conducted an anonymous survey about the demographic of the applicants. This survey was voluntary and was not required as part of the application. The chart on the screen represents the applicant pool. According to the survey results, the pool of applicants may appear to represent those most affected by the war on drugs. We will continue to review this data and share that information with the board. In closing, I thank you for having us share this information with you today. We're excited about the new phase of the program, and we understand that a number of applicants exceeded the number of available licenses during this application window. We invite the community to provide feedback on the application process as we work to improve and expand the social equity program through Senate Bill 5080. Our website will be updated with more information. Also, the email inbox is now reopened. Please direct all questions for the social equity program to licensing social equity at lcb.wa.gov. Thank you.
Couple of quick questions. One, I assume that website's back. I mean, that email address is back on our social equity website. So people just go to the LCB website and you can find that. Appreciate that. And the point of that obviously is for a while we were saying go to Ponder. Now we've got them back, so it's in our house and we do it just so everyone understands what we're doing there. And when Ms. Thompson, when you were talking about the technical assistance and things, just to be clear, that's for people who receive a preliminary letter of approval, right? They'll hear from us about that. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, great. And of those categories, well, let me put it this way, because if the world was really easy, we would have 46,000 point scores, right? And nobody else. Then those people would be get preliminary letters of approval, right? Because there'd be no double blind lottery or anything. They all were qualified,
Right.
scored the highest, right?
Perfect world,
Right.
yes.
And that's not going to happen.
That's not going to
So
happen.
then what happens is we're going to have some people with higher scores and a lot of people who may be clumped together. Everybody has, and I don't know what the ratio is. I'm saying 1,000, but let's just say 1 through 10. So,
Hopefully not.
yeah. So
Not
there's a
yet.
bunch of people clumped at 6, then that is why we have to go to another step for those,
Yes.
right? Okay. I'm just still trying to get this all clear in my head to understand that. And basically what we have now in this process is, as you said, we're going from hundreds at this end to 46 at this end. And it's those various steps that'll get us there. Within 2 weeks or, in about 2 weeks, people will be notified where they are among those categories.
Yeah.
right? Okay. Any sense yet of how long the rest of that process goes? Like, when might somebody receive a preliminary letter of approval?
Well, we'd like to anticipate that to occur within the next 2 weeks. So,
Oh, all the way to the end of that process
Right.
within 2 weeks. Oh, fantastic. Okay, good. I thought they were just that initial chunk. Okay, okay, very good. Members, Garrett or Volendroff, any questions of the team at this point? Okay, let me just make sure. Okay, that's great. Appreciate that.
thank you for your time.
Thanks for coming. Nice
Thank you
job.
very
Very
much.
good. And again, Aaron and Linda said they would stay after if people had questions. Then, okay, we're going to move to rulemaking timelines. Morning, Cassidy, our policy and rules manager, Cassidy West.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Postman and board members Garrett and Volendroff. I'll start with some cannabis rulemaking updates. So we're going to be presenting a rule petition about batch tracking or tagging to the board on October 11th. Also in October, we tentatively plan to bring the CR 101 for a petition that was accepted related to medical cannabis endorsements. Coming up in September, during the last week, we'll be holding rulemaking workshops on the THC bill and on sampling. More details about those will be provided in a Gov delivery message, and then also on the laws and the laws and rules webpage. For alcohol, we tentatively plan on having stakeholder engagement sessions in October for the alcohol delivery and Mass 13 permit rule project. For the trade areas project, with the support of Dr. Conwell, the tribal liaison, we've been having ongoing conversations with tribes about the rule language and hope to hold rules workshops to go over the draft rules in November. And so unless there are any questions, I can pass it to Daniel regarding the public hearing.
No
questions.
questions. Okay. We'll
Thank you.
move
I'll pass it to Daniel.
to Daniel Jacobs, who will set us up for today's public hearing. Mr. Jacobs.
Thank you, Chair Postman, and thank you, Cassidy. Good morning, Chair Postman, members Garrett, Volendroff, LCB staff, and members of the public. I'm going to briefly preview this morning's public hearing on the rulemaking for what the project that's been called the 2023 Liquor Legislation Implementation. This project was begun to address rulemaking related to 3 specific bills passed during the 2023 legislative session. The first bill expanded what types of jobs 18 to 20-year-olds can perform at liquor licensee locations, and it allowed those folks to work in jobs in the kitchen and back of the house where they aren't interacting with patrons or with alcohol. The second bill created a special permit for operators of short-term rental units, biggest names being Airbnb and Vrbo, to provide a complimentary bottle of wine to renters who are 21 and over. And the third bill was a prohibition on the sale, manufacture, and distribution of products that combined alcohol and cannabis. To clarify, just because I've gotten a few questions, today's hearing is not related to 5448 or alcohol delivery. That's a separate rules project. The 3 bills that this project is on are pretty specific, and actually only one of them required rulemaking, and that's the short-term rental one. And the reason is because that short-term rental bill also allowed permit holders to obtain wine directly from wine distributors, which typically private citizens can't do. You got to be like a retailer or some other sort of entity in order to get wine directly from a wine distributor. So we had to change the rules we have in place on wine distributors to say that now wine distributors can distribute wine to these special permit holders. And that's exactly what we're doing. Those are the only rule changes that we're making. We circulated rules back in July. We got some feedback on it. Some folks wanted a little bit more, but as the rules are going forward, we're literally just changing the rules to say wine distributors can sell wine directly to these special permit holders. Assuming everything's still on track, after the public hearing today, we are still scheduled to file the CR 103, which is the last step, at the next board meeting on September 27th, which would have these rule changes in effect by October 27th, right in time for Halloween. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
You know, I have questions about this one every time it comes up, but so you can get a special permit and you can buy from essentially a wholesale wine seller. Are you going to have to prove that you have a short-term rental under your name to get said permit? Or could I go and get a permit and somehow just start buying wholesale wine for myself?
Well, we actually didn't get into that specifically in rule.
Okay.
But with wine distributors, we talked about the sort of economic incentive that if you're a lack of a better word, a lay person, if you're someone who your only business is that you have a cabin on one of the islands and you rent it out for Airbnb, or you have an apartment that happens to be on a nice street in downtown Seattle and you rent it out for parades or whatever it is, and you reach out to a wine distributor, we're assuming that you're going to say, I have an Airbnb unit, I want to get wine bottles directly from you. But no, we don't at this time have a specific proof requirement. But we've assumed that some of the economic forces are going to sort of work their way into it, which is that wine distributors aren't necessarily going to be super eager to sell 2 or 3 wine bottles at a time.
No, the only thing, and I don't know why I only thought of this now, but I guess what I'm wondering is even if I have an Airbnb, but I could go and buy 10 cases of wine and put it in my home wine cellar. And is there an economic advantage to me in that case? Are we going around the retailer by allowing me to have a special permit that I can basically buy wholesale wine? Because then it might be economical for the distributor.
I mean, that's certainly possible, and that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why we've already sort of set in motion that once these permits go live, as my understanding, the permits aren't live yet. They're not available yet. But once they go live, we're going to look back in about a year or a year and a half from now and sort of look at these issues. I think there's some folks that might be scheduled to testify about this, but that's sort of one of the responses, because some folks have asked, why aren't you doing more rulemaking? And we're not sure how much rules are really going to be necessary, how much this permit's going to be used. But if that becomes an issue, we can certainly add that into rules later. I guess that's another thing, is just because we aren't doing as much rulemaking now doesn't mean we can't add rules later on.
Right. If we find that we're selling more wholesale wine than there are verbos in Airbnb, we could do something. Okay, let's go ahead and open the public hearing then. This is the public hearing for the 2023 liquor legislation implementation. And if you want to testify on that, you can just come up and state your name. And you'll have 4 minutes. No, nobody signed up. Okay. Nobody signed up for the public hearing on liquor legislation implementation, so I'm going to close that public hearing. Okay. Now we're to
One
the part
last.
Oh, yes, please go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I actually just got a real-time update because I had said I wasn't sure when the permits will be live. I actually just got an update. Apparently, permits are going to be available to purchase by the end of the month.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, general public comment. I go over these rules every time, but just to make sure, everyone's going to have up to 4 minutes to speak. We ask you to limit your comments to LCB business as much as possible, and of course, refrain from any kind of personal attacks or going too far off topic. I'll mention if I think somebody has drifted too far. We in the room and everyone needs to be respectful of everyone who's speaking. And as a reminder to make sure phones are off and there's no side conversations or reactions to what people are saying. Again, it's being recorded. It'll be available online later today, both on our website as a Teams meeting and also it's on TVW later in the day as well. Again, the microphones here are super sensitive, so let's be aware of that. You get 4 minutes. When you're at 3.5 minutes, Dustin's just going to break into wherever you are and say you have 30 seconds. And then when your 4 minutes is up, we're going to ask you to finish at that point. We are going to start with the people who have signed up online. We have 5 people. And the first is Sami Saad. Mr. Saad, you go ahead and take a second to get settled, but then you'll have your 4 minutes.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little garbled, but we can hear you, sir.
Okay. Can you hear me very well now or?
Yeah, better. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to say hi to everybody and there's nothing personal between us and you guys. And I think you guys wanted to come to a resolution in the social equity. My name is Sami Saad, or Sami Abdullah Saad. I started my medical canopy since 2013, 2012, 2013, one of the first people in September, actually in 2013. And unfortunately being forced out, and I represent my people. I'm Sudanese American. I'm not African American. I am a color guy. We are more than 65,000 Washingtonian, and we love to have our own. I support my community. I'm just looking for your wisdom and support because I feed this program in every single angle. I have a convicted felony. He is since day one with me in my license. And to protect my right and to protect me because from what we have, we've been forced out and all this outside agenda. We just, you have to, like I said, you have to, we keep going forward and we have in our shop helping our community. But unfortunately, even during my shop is open, I was working as a minimum wage in Alaska and my shop was open. I was a good example as a good American. This is not a promoting for my shop. Just looking out today, it's no issue with no one. I wish of you guys to really acknowledge we being forced out. Bander, they did send me and they sent me, hey, Sammy, good luck. You complete your application successfully, and we already have that. Is already, but we are not determining. So they are not the one determined. They say the LCB determine who is qualified. But as all the stuff we have, I'm 100%, not 100%. This is 300% qualified for this program. If it's the first one, it was me. If it's have a large group of people, we are more than 65,000 Washingtonian. Unfortunately, the state, they're losing a lot of money for all this kind of stuff, and you guys need to acknowledge that. As we spoke earlier about even about the alcohol, I'm Muslim. We don't support alcohol. Just to be honest with you, about alcohol, it affects a lot of people in our community here in Rainier area, and you guys have to acknowledge that, especially in hurricane, it needs to be suspended from Seattle. But I'm gonna go. This is a different issue, and it affects a lot of people and making a lot of people killing each other in Rainier. And the thing is about us being forced out, you guys losing money because the people they used to come to our shop, they don't buy from those store anymore. And the thing is another issue. That's another issue other than the licensing. Putting tobacco on those things, it makes people sick. I'm sick right now from the tobacco being put on those marijuana, and it's not good, affecting a lot of people. You know, it's really affecting a lot of people. I wish you guys the best. It's nothing personal between me and you guys. We welcome the new director. We tell him, welcome to Seattle.
Sammy, you have 30
We
seconds.
would love to see from you. Yeah, we would love to see from you, from Mr. David Postman and Ellie Garrett, to acknowledge us. We've been for last time, Marcusai, he adapted something for us and is being denied. I wish this time we're not being denied, to be just treated equally. I wish you guys the best. It's nothing personal. And we lost. This is about us. We lost. I lost thousands of dollars, if it's not million. That's from my own pocket. I made this one to help, not to hurt. But I've been hurt.
Sammy, that's your time.
I lost my. I came to this one. My hair is black now. I have a white hair in my hair and even my mustache. This
All
is
right.
too much.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Song, for your
follow the
comments
guy.
today. Appreciate that. Next person signed up is Christopher King. Mr. King? Okay, Mr. King, you should be able to go ahead.
Okay, I believe I'm unmuted. Are we there?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can't see. Oh, there you are. Yes, sir. Okay,
All
Mr.
right,
King. Go.
terrific. Terrific. It's just at the outset, I want to say there never was anything personal about any of this. Really, we're just stating facts and asking for documents to which we're entitled. I will note at the outset that, again, the focus of this, originally, this whole social equity movement, the focus of this was originally about the Black pioneers. Then they became an afterthought. And that's unfortunate because that shouldn't really be the way it is. But that happened pursuant to the rubrics put forth by Jim Buchanan. And he and I, Kevin Shelton, used to argue over that stuff all the time. I still have the emails from when that happened. And, and then you had the guy from the NAACP come in. Originally, it said that the first lottery was a sham. I forget his name right now, but all those guys seem to have disappeared now. It's interesting. Anyway, what I want to go into now is the whole issue of openness in government. And I understand now, you do understand that state procurement records, you put out an RFP to get Ponder in to do this. And so those state procurement records are now public record. Under RCW 3926030, bid submissions and bid evaluations are exempt from disclosure until the agency announces the apparent successful bidder. Okay, so that's all been done now. So I asked y'all for the original RFP that went out, all the applications that came back in, including Ponder's, and then also I wanted to have the submissions from Ponder, the recommendations, because that's all public record. You would agree with me on that, right?
Yeah, we're not going to do Q&A today.
Never with me, do you? You do it with other people, but never with me. So anyway, there's not really much to ask. It's a fact. That's the statute. So anyway, just in case it's not clear, I'm not just shooting my mouth off here. This is the Public Records Act, Ask Questions. This is from the Washington Association of Public Records Officers. Okay, that's who wrote this document that's going into all this, and it just says, that anything that qualifies as a writing that relates to the conduct of government that is in your agency's possession will qualify as a record. Even Post-it notes are original records. Okay, so yeah, and that's kind of goes back to the stuff that I asked for when Kevin Shelton sent that letter to Ollie Garrett a long time ago and never really received any follow-up on that. So that's, I'm not just making this up. I understand the RFP process quite well. I've been working on them for decades now. In fact, I work on RFPs that affect the quality of your life. That's a fact. So I've got 3 of them right in front of me I've got to get back to when I get off this call. All right. So that's the law. If I don't get the documents, we're going to have to sue. And again, it's nothing personal. Now, the reason I bring that up, though, and I'm concerned, is because when I asked for the public records regarding to William Lucala, the new director, you gave me back this. Okay. There's nothing there. You blacked out everything. You redacted everything. Okay, not even the interview questions. I got nothing. Now, if you think that that's lawful, we're going to have a visit in court because it isn't. The only thing you can black out there is his personal information. That I agree, but I don't want his personal information. I don't need to know where he lives. I don't need to know who his wife or husband. I don't need to know any of that. I just want to see what qualified him for the position. Is that an unreasonable request? It's a yes or no question. Is it an unreasonable request to ask to see his qualifications or the interview questions or his
You have 30 seconds.
I guess the question was too deep to answer, huh? I thought it was pretty straightforward. I don't know. So you see, you're not, how can I say, you're not really giving people much reason to believe in the integrity of the system when you won't even identify what it is that you asked the applicant or anything. You won't even identify any of it. So how can we, as your constituents, just give me a second, like you do everybody else but me. Okay, so I'm just going to sum up briefly. Okay, so how can you expect us to believe in the integrity of the system when you issue responses like this? Okay.
Thank you for your
Have a nice day.
Mr. King.
Bye-bye.
The next person we have signed up is Representative Deborah Entenman. Representative Entenman, if you can raise your hand if you're online there. We're not seeing your name on there, so Dustin needs to scroll through the 80 participants to find you. So we'll just take a second to do that. I think I'm going to skip ahead and we'll come back to Representative Entenmann. Yeah, whenever you're there, just raise your hand and we'll find you and we'll put you in for the next slot. So the next person we have signed up online is Paula Sardinas. There's.
Hello, Chair Postman, can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes, we can.
Good morning, Paula Sardinas with FMS Global Strategies, and I'll make my comments short because I thought the presentation by Mr. Washington and staff was really good. We had questions about the timeline on behalf of 100 applicants and mentors that we mentee and how the process would unfold. Thought the information was presented in a way that was really succinct. We've actually been getting real live text messages and comments from a lot of our mentees, some who are online and some who could not attend. That timeline kind of comports with what they were expecting, and their understanding that where there are multiple scores, that there would be a double-blind lottery. I think the LCB has been consistent, and that's how the process would work. Our questions were around how the certificate process would work because some of those folks have been holding since 2016. We understand that all of the information will now be released at the same time in a process, I guess, that makes it more equitable, and that we have submitted questions through the LCB portal and have been getting today the answers to those questions. And so I think my comments just generally is that before we move forward with the 5080 licenses, of course, we'd want to have a look back at this process and to examine what worked well, what we could do better, and how to move forward. But I think the graphics showed on the screen, as someone that co-chaired social equity, I think we're going to see that the process worked well and that it was consistent with what we expected under HB 2080. And I think if we all just take an intentional pause and look at what we did and the efforts to center the war on drugs and those people that were impacted, and we just look at the process, then that work has been done. Overwhelmingly, majorities apply for this process. It was outsourced to a third-party vendor. And I think if we just remain neutral and dispassionate and allow the process to unfold and see where the licenses went, and we have transparent and candid conversations on how we can improve the process, I think that the outcome will be what we expected. And so thank you to the board. Thank you, Ollie, for shepherding this process through. This has not been a 3-year process. This has been a 10-year process. To people like Board Member Hagee, who's not serving anymore, Chair Jane, who's not serving anymore, Volendroff and Chair Postman, you're new to this process. It has been 10 years of just trying to get equity for the community. We look forward to not just these 46 licenses coming out, but improving the process for the other 5080. So we have 100 people that have applied for this process. We wanted to come on this morning and say just thank you for all of the work. Rebecca and her staff, Nicola and everybody, we think that the LCB has done a good job. It doesn't exempt that there might be some issues, but we do think it's important to acknowledge the work that's been done. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for your comments. Okay, we'll go now to Representative Deborah Entenmann. Good morning, Representative. You should be able to go ahead there. We don't see you yet, but. Yeah, Representative Entenmann, from our screen, it looks like you're ready to go.
Okay, thank you very much. This was very confusing.
Yeah, sorry. Good
Sorry.
morning.
Good morning. I have a question to ask. I understand that I don't expect an answer at this time, but as I have been, excuse me, for the record, my name is Deborah Entenmann, representative from the 47th Legislative District. I am on another business trip. I am trying to find out some information. I understand that you will not be able to give it to me at this time. I'd like to know what was the criteria for the evaluator. I'd also like to know if the evaluator subcontracted some of the work out, did that subcontractor also have to meet the criteria? The reason why I am asking this question is because it has been brought to my attention that the subcontractor did not have any experience in working in the cannabis field. And so they had a steep learning curve, which may have been a detriment to the people who they are supposed to be helping. I don't know, and that's why I'm asking. This is not a criticism, it's just an observation, and I hope that I can be provided information so that I can provide answers to members of the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Representative Entman, and I'm sure somebody from staff will get back to you with that. Appreciate that. Okay, our next person signed up online is David Busby.
Is this thing working okay?
It sure is. Can hear you.
Awesome. Thanks. Thanks for having me again today. I'm here, David Busby with OpenTHC. We've done this before. I'm here to talk about the CCRS bug, which you guys got fixed, which I'm excited about. Hooray. I would like everyone to know that myself and other software vendors in the space reported these issues quite some time ago. And so it took more than 6 months, took more than 9 months to get this issue addressed. Or at least one that we think that it is, because that's been going on for a while. And the behavior of the system has changed. There's less errors coming back from these cases, and that's exciting. But one of the things that's occurred from this is that some on the enforcement side have reached out to licensees, some of my clients, some of my other clients, some people I just advise, and are asking them to re-upload files from like January of this year. And of course, these file uploads are something that the LCB has also said are just, transient in nature or something. So, the files, the LCB doesn't retain them. Why would a licensee have a file from 9 months ago still lying around to re-upload? But more importantly than that, CCRS isn't a file-based system. It's a records-based system. There's just multiple records in the file. So if a file doesn't work on January 9th, and then you make an attempt on January 10th with the same data to update, you would run into the problem there. So really asking people to upload data from January is sort of silly, because there's been hundreds of days where they would have also re-imported or updated that record in the CCRS system, and any of their other downstream activities would have failed as well when you're trying to do lab results and get those recorded, or if you're trying to do B2B transactions. So I think asking for these files from many months ago is sort of a goose chase for the enforcement side. And the way to handle it is the same way you handle it with current records. Spot check records that exist in CCRS from January with what exists in a licensee's system. That's mostly it. And then the other thing that sort of just came up, someone else on the chat here on the call mentioned RFI, RFP process, which reminded me I had asked about the lengthy timeline information about your RFI, RFP process for the update to the track and trace program. And something interesting is happening in Massachusetts. They have this process going on right now, and they're keeping everybody well updated. December 2023 is when they're going to announce who is going to be the successful respondent. But they're giving us till December 2024 for that whole implementation to go on. So they're giving 18 months of information about the updates to their systems, which allows all the licensees and integrators to do a lot of planning. Thanks.
Thanks, David. And, as you know, the CCRS team is listening somewhere, and I'm sure somebody will be in touch on that other issue. Thank you. We will now move to those who have signed up in the room to speak. I will call your name, and you come on up to the podium and state your name. And there's a clock there, but again, Dustin will let you know when you have 30 seconds left. Everybody has 4 minutes. If I can read everyone's handwriting, first up is Paul Brigg.
Bryce.
Bryce, sorry. Hello.
Hello, my name is Paul Bryce, owner of Happy Trees, been involved with mentorship, also the task force. Couple things. One was the social equity title search. As we know, a lot of those title searches been hanging around for years now and nowhere to go. And even being allowed to open up in the county, some of these counties are still just completely not going to allow it. So hoping something's going to be addressed about that first. As we know, when this rolls out, there's going to be more cities that are aware of the situation, and Pasco's one. Even I know that's saying that they're going to allow for a social equity application. So I mean, you would think for any of the title search social equity people that been waiting for years, that hopefully they can be able to, if not Rome, be able to go somewhere where a county or city is going to allow for a social equity license. Second, before 5080 rolls out, there was many licenses back in the day given out to people who had like pioneer status or was involved with the cannabis industry. Hopefully something will be addressed for that, whereas you went from one license to all of a sudden you were just given 3 licenses. I don't see any minority that was ever recognized for anything with a pioneer status, even though some of us did qualify. That's it.
Great. Thank you for your comments. Next up is Gregory Foster.
Morning, Chair, board members. Gregory Foster with Cannabis Observer. We've been observing the public meetings of the LCB for the last 6 years or so. So a couple of items just want to bring to your attention and bring up today. Last week you mentioned the Washington State Institute for Public Policy report was published, one of 4 that they're tasked with issuing over the 2 decades after 502 was passed. So pretty big deal. Their board of directors met on Monday and had a presentation up at CTAC, and so we went and observed that. So if you would like to hear the questions that were asked by some of the leading legislators in the state, it was an interesting conversation, a lot of incisive questions. So we have that on the site. Please take a look. Also wanted to talk about the rulemaking that's been going on at the agency the last few months. So, obviously we've had a turnover and change where Kathy Hoffman's shifted over to the research unit. Ms. West has taken over as policy and rules manager. They're understaffed. I'm not sure if we've been able to fill the additional policy and rules coordinator role there, but everything's sort of been put on hold for months now, but we're not talking about it. So just wanted to bring that up, that we're still waiting to hear on the payment terms rulemaking petition that was accepted by the board March 28th. Minors on wholesale licensed premises was accepted by the board August 2022. There's the advertising rulemaking project that's at the Sierra 101 stage for over a year. I mean, obviously, we're probably going to wait on that, given the agency's looking to amend some of the legislation that's out there this session. Social equity, we have SB 5080 implementation. We're looking for a Sierra 101 for that. Probably makes sense by the end of the month. But then there's also rulemaking the agency has to undertake with regards to cannabis lab accreditation. So that's being handed off to WSDA and maybe the Department of Ecology. We'll see about that. And that has to be done by, I guess, the end of this fiscal year, right? So that's going to be probably fairly complex, and that's going to take some time. So that has to be accounted for. And sort of on that question about whether it is going to be ecology or not that takes on the role of accreditation, you brought that up publicly for the first time that I was aware of, and so appreciate you mentioning that. And you expressed some hesitation about, well, it's going to be a heavy lift to say like we're going to shift over and have ag take on that responsibility in addition to actually defining the standards. And let me just say, it would be better over at ag. Ecology doesn't seem to really want the job. It would raise prices for the labs themselves to operate. They would have to pay $64,000, something like that, assuming they all stay in business.
Gregory,
which
you have
they
30
wouldn't,
seconds.
right? So we're talking like tens of thousands of dollars, effectively a new licensing fee just to operate in the state. And meanwhile, ag has the desire for it. They have the staff for it. Former chemist from LCB is over there. Former research manager for LCB is over there. You all should get behind that bill. All right. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for your comments. Next up is Hannah Abraham. No. Moving to next, we'll come back. If you did, Gregory Carter. Have that right?
Record. My name is Gregory Carter. I'm from Tacoma, Washington, and I got involved in the cannabis industry many years ago. And as you know, to a lot of people's surprises, a lot of that got people arrested and taken away and broke communities up and kind of severed, the community that a lot of people, all they knew their whole life. So I'm here today. I was just, in here listening because I've never got to come to any of the meetings or any of that, not, because I work, I got a job. So, just got off this morning and got a couple hours of sleep to come here and deal with this. And I was just, because a lot of the stuff to a lot of us out here is kind of like, because a lot of people ain't savvy with the internet and all that kind of thing. So you kind of you'll click this and it'll put you over here. You'll try to get back here and can't get back in. So, I was just, here listening and observing to a lot of things that's going on. And I just wanted to ask the question, have you guys had the chance to really go into these neighborhoods and really talk to, some of these people, influential people in these neighborhoods and find out what's really going on and the things that could help, if not will help, to make this place a better, environment for the people who really lost out on everything? Because a lot of people are like homeless. These are people 20 years ago that were citizens doing good things in the community. So I was just, trying to come out and fill it out and see what's going on because I go back and talk. I'm a mentor for kids at the high school. So I go back and give them insight on things that I learned out here in the community from, past, present, people that's, relatively got things going on in here that could benefit and maybe make the place a better environment for everyone else. So, I appreciate the, the insight and all that, but I just wanted to ask that question because a lot of people don't even know you guys really even exist. So
Talked about that a little bit when we're done here.
yeah, okay. Well, that's about it. Okay. My name is Greg. Appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for showing up today. Appreciate that. Next person signed up is Kanika Clemens. Should I have that name right? Going back to Abraham. Okay. That is it then for people who were signed up. Takes us to the end of our agenda today. I want to thank everybody both for the great presentation from licensing and the comments that we heard from you all today. And really glad that people had a chance to come down, including some who hadn't had the chance before. So it means a lot to us. And thanks to Representative Entman for making time to join us for a bit too. So with that, we will adjourn the board meeting for September 13th, right? Yeah, 2023. Thanks, everybody.